Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is the Wacky and Weird Wednesday episode. It's the day where we look up all the wacky and weird news that's been going on in the current news cycle. So let's talk about some weird and wacky things. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we've started. And we haven't had any caffeine, only just a little tiny sip of my tea. So let's get into these headlines for today. Today on Before Coffee. Herpes infections affect 846 million people worldwide.
She was a teenage mother in Detroit, and now she's a queen in Ghana.
Arctic tundra now emits planet-warming pollution. Federal report finds.
The Wisconsin kayaker who faked his death is now in custody. And we're going to talk about a Long Island man who skateboarded across the country.
Google reveals 2024's most searched for topics and people in the UK and US, and some of them are quite weird.
It's National Stretching Day here on December 11th, 2024, in the new and improved morning coffee. Before coffee, and a new and improved before coffee where we can't talk. A new and improved before coffee.
Yep, that's right. We're always improving because that's what you do as a person and a human, I think. You should always try to look for improvement. Don't settle in your ways. Never settle. I don't know who says that, but it's somebody's saying that they say never settle. So let's go ahead and start with the first news story about everyone's favorite STI. Well, maybe not their favorite, but the most common, with 846 million people worldwide being known to be infected with genital herpes. Lovely. That's why this is the wacky, and this is more of the wacky story, because I don't know how they discovered these numbers. They could have not possibly tested 846 people. And there's probably even more than that. This is from the World Health Organization on News Medical. Around 846 million people aged between 15 and 49, so that's not even including people above 50, are living with genital herpes infections. More than 1 in 5 of this age group globally, according to new estimates released today. At least one person each second, that's 42 million people annually, is estimated to acquire a new genital herpes infection. Wow, a lot of people are getting laid. Most of the time, these infections are caused no or few symptoms. However, for some people, they lead to painful genital sores and blisters that can recur throughout life, causing significant discomfort and often requiring multiple healthcare visits. According to estimates, more than 200 million people aged 15 to 49 suffered at least one symptomatic episode in 2024. So that means they had symptoms like painful sores. Authors of the study published in the journal Sexually Transmitted Infections. I can't believe they named the journal just STI. That's it. Not of the world or global or interesting.
All you need is an audience, man. All you need is an audience, and you got a magazine. Yeah.
They say the new treatments and vaccines are needed to reverse adverse health effects of the herpes virus and control its spread. While most people with genital herpes infection experience few symptoms, with so many infections, genital herpes still causes pain and distress for millions globally and strains already overburdened health systems. Better prevention and treatment options are urgently needed to reduce herpes transmission and also contribute to reducing the transmission of HIV. Yes, if you try to stop transmitting any sexually transmitted disease, you definitely will reduce the transmission of HIV, which is also commonly sexually transmitted. It's not only sexually transmitted, but that's the most common way it is transmitted. Currently, there's no cure for herpes, although treatments can relieve symptoms. In addition to sores, genital herpes can also, on occasion, lead to serious complications, including neonatal herpes, which is a rare condition most likely to occur when a mother acquires the infection for the first time in late pregnancy and then transmits the virus to her baby during childbirth. Okay. Thanks a lot. Who designed this? Who designed this system? What do I blame? There are two types of herpes, simplex virus, HSV, known as HSV1 and HSV2, both which can lead to genital herpes. According to estimates, 520 million people in 2020 had genital HSV2, which is transmitted during sexual activity. Wow, good for them. Congratulations on those 520 people who are getting laid. I don't know. From a public health perspective, genital HSV2 is more serious since it's substantially more likely to cause recurrent outbreaks and accounts for 90% of symptomatic episodes and is linked to threefold increased risk of getting HIV. Oh, I had no idea genital warts increased your chance of getting HIV. More reasons to wear those condoms, everyone. Unlike HSV2, one primarily spreads during childhood through saliva or skin to skin contact around the mouth. So kissing and stuff like that. Oral herpes, which is cold sores and mouth ulcers, are the most common symptom. In those without previous infection, however, HSV1 can be acquired through sexual contact to cause genital infection in adolescence and adulthood. Some 376 million people are estimated to have genital HSV1 infections, so mouth to genital infections, basically. So not a lot of people are getting head. A lot of people are getting lucky. Not a lot of people are getting head. I'm just trying to make this story more weird and wacky. It's slightly serious, okay? There are people who are suffering from this.
Very serious.
Of these, 50 million are estimated to also have the HSV2, as it's possible to have both types at the same time. Wow, combo. While the 2020 estimates show virtually no difference, I feel like there might be a difference after 2020, because that was during the pandemic. Maybe it went down, maybe it went up, I don't know. People were separated at least for 2 years, 1.5 years, so maybe it went down. There's no difference in the prevalence of genital HSV2 compared to 2016, so it hasn't gone up. It's just been stable, you know, that 800 million people are getting herpes. Estimated genital HSV1 infections are getting higher. Over recent years, several countries have observed changing patterns of transmission with HSV1, with adults' genital infections increasing as childhood oral infections decline. Well, that's good. The children aren't suffering, and that's all that matters. Reduced oral spread through childhood may be linked to factors like less crowded living conditions and improved hygiene, which they increase susceptibility to virus at an older age. The author note that the increases may be also partially reflect changes in methods and additional data sources. Yeah, they could have just gotten more accurate at finding herpes. So they're just like, oh, we found another herpes thanks to this new method. Stigma around genital herpes means that it has been discussed too little, despite affecting millions of people globally. Not everyone has been done to address this common infection. That's because a lot of the globe is also grossed out by sex, even though they're all doing it. They're like, oh, don't talk about it. Don't let anybody know you're doing it. Then that's bad.
That's all we all got here, man. That's
exactly.
all we all got here. You can't live without it.
And also, yeah, it's just like, it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of like getting the cold. You'll tell people, oh yeah, I got the cold last week, you know, so I've been a little out of sorts. If you say, yeah, I have genital herpes and I've been scratching like crazy and I've been trying to put ointment on it, people are like, oh, don't talk to me about your genital herpes. Disgusting. It's a double standard for sure.
Yeah, definitely don't talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear about their disease, no matter what it is, man. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a lumbago.
Despite affecting millions of people globally, not enough has been done to address this common infection, said Dr. Sami Gottlieb, an author of the report and medical officer with WHO's Department of Sexual Reproductive Health and Research, including the UNDP, the UNFPA, UNICEF, WHO, and World Bank's Special Program of Research Development and Research Training in Human Reproduction. And guess what? They stand for HRP. World Bank of Special Program, they just call themselves HRP. Not WBSPRDRRTRHR. No, just call it HRP. Expanding research and investment in developing new herpes vaccines and therapies and their equitable use could play a critical role in improving quality of life for people around the world. Wow, yeah, let's do that. While they're not fully effective at stopping its spread, correct and consistent use of condoms, reduce risks of herpes transmission. People with active symptoms should avoid any sexual contact with other people, including with their mouth, and since herpes is most contagious when sores are present. WHO recommends that people with symptoms of genital herpes should be offered HIV testing and, if needed, pre-exposure to prophylaxis for HIV prevention. In line with the global health sector strategy on HIV, viral hepatitis and sexually transmitted infections for 2022 to 2030, WHO works to increase awareness about genital herpes infections and related symptoms, improve access to antiviral medications, and promote related HIV prevention efforts. It is also working to advance research in developing new tools for the prevention and control of herpes infection, such as vaccines, treatments, and topical microbicides. Earlier this year, a new study showed that genital herpes infections not only cause significant health impacts, but also major economic costs, amounting to an estimated $35 billion worldwide through healthcare expenditures and productivity loss. Of course, that's the most important thing. My productivity! Stop getting herpes. My numbers are going down.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters to the global elite here.
No. Okay.
Number. Anyways, that's our wacky weird story on genital herpes for anybody who's not educated in how they work and how to stop yourself from getting them. Because there are people out there who got no sex ed and didn't learn about any of this stuff. They have just no clue.
Right. They just know it feels good.
Yep, your story.
And do it till it stops feeling good, and you're a happy guy. Just, all right, so we're gonna go from, as we used to, of course, the triumvirate of sexual transmitted disease has always been known as the herp, the clap, and the sif. Anyway, just so everybody knows your slang from the 70s, as we the trifecta of things you can get from having fun. Anyway, she was a teenage mother in Detroit. Now she's a Ghanaian queen, says the headline from CNN's Joshua Corber Hoffman. Of course, he might not have wrote the headline. He might have just said, "Here's my story. I quit." Anyway. How Kennedy Johnson became a queen. One woman's journey from Detroit to Ghana. Maybe that's his headline. I like that one better, I think. Kennedy Johnson was 15 years old when she gave birth to a baby girl in a Detroit foster home for teen moms in February 1996. 25 years later, when Johnson found herself in northern Ghana being made a queen, she couldn't quite believe where life had taken her. In front of an adoring crowd in Tamale, the largest city in northern Ghana, Johnson was given an honorary title of Zosimile Na in October 21. It was conferred on her by Dakpima Fusiana Bawa, a local spiritual leader, with Zosimile Na roughly translating as a friendship queen, effectively making her Dakpima's head of development in the area. Dakpima's head of development. So she's the head of development, just not an official title. She's the head of development. Thousands of miles from home, riding on a horse and dressed in traditional royal attire, Johnson would have been forgiven for thinking she was in a dream. "I'm still pinching myself," Johnson told CNN. "It feels very surreal. I had to abandon a lot of my childhood goals," is the title of the subsection. Johnson's journey began as a young mother in 1990s Detroit. A time she remembers as a bit of a challenge. It's an understatement. She recalled a relative dropping her off, a pregnant 15-year-old, at a foster home and promising to pick her up when the child was born. They never returned. Jesus. Anyway, wow. "I had to abandon a lot of my childhood goals," she said. "I just had to dig deep and find some sort of strength." When her daughter Dakaya was 11, Johnson started taking her trips abroad, first to the Bahamas, then Hong Kong, then South America. The pair fell in love with seeing the world, and Johnson began documenting her trips online to show people that minorities can travel. I really didn't think that was
sadly,
a thing, but anyway, apparently there's a lot of people that feel like they've been oppressed so much that nobody thinks they exist. So I totally get. I would meet other people in my age group, but not my demographic. I was going places and people would stop me and be like, "Beyonce?" That would be automatically assumed as an entertainment industry.
That
I'm
reminds me
not
of my
taking a holiday
childhood.
because people of
J-Lo?
color weren't really
As a
traveling like
14-year-old,
that.
J-Lo? Yeah, you know, I'm
got-
freaking Puerto Rican now. Okay, sure.
I got to say, I haven't been to any of those countries where they're totally freaked out by black tourists, but maybe I just not noticed.
Japan, well, you have
Hey,
been to Japan.
it was very
Japanese
uh,
people are pretty. Wow,
oh,
look
yeah.
at you.
I wasn't in Japan as a tourist. I was there as a piece of meat.
But you have been to the country.
Years later. Yeah, well, not really. Not really. I was sequestered.
Okinawa doesn't count.
Whatever you call it.
They have 15 bases on Okinawa.
Okinawa.
You never have to touch Japan.
Okinawa doesn't count, but I did go off the grid, and as they say in Okinawa, I went way up north to Nago, which there's no white people up there, and they don't see a lot of Americans, but they still had a Shakey's Pizza, so I don't know.
A Shakey's Pizza.
Anyway, that's the weirdest thing in the world. Shakey's Pizza is all over Okinawa. They said, fuck the United States, we're just gonna open shit in Okinawa. Anyway, back to my story. Years later, once Dakaya had left home, Johnson took a DNA test that determined she had Nigerian and Ghanaian heritage, which to be fair, I have Ghanaian, at least in that area, Western Africa. And of course you do too.
Everyone does. Everyone has African heritage.
Not everyone, not the recently traced DNA does. No, I do. But I digress. For the first time, her travels took her to West Africa. Her arrival there, which she describes as a return, felt like a huge sigh of relief. Soon after her first journey, Johnson founded Greenbrook Travel in 2018, a company that organizes trips to West Africa for members of the diaspora, named after the annual travel guide that provided black people with information to keep them safe in Jim Crow area, America. Greenbook Travel takes people to historically significant locations, including sites of deportation in the transatlantic slave trade.
That's
Oof.
very.
You want to see your history? This is an eye opener.
Yeah.
The trips immediately attracted hundreds of people, Johnson said, and her travels to West Africa became more frequent. On one trip, she found herself physically compelled. Her body was on fire to visit northern Ghana. On her second day in the region, she was asked to pay a customary visit to the Dakpima and her elders in Tamale. She quickly realized that this was no ordinary meeting. They started consulting amongst each other, she said. And then they said, we want you to go to prepare to be the queen. Initially, Johnson did not understand the significance of the offer, but when she recounted the meeting with the village elder, he nearly crashed his car.
Oh, wow.
4 months later, with her daughter and best friend alongside her, Johnson was skinned in Tamale. Skinned is what they call it, I guess. Officially recognized as a friendship queen before being introduced to the community in a parade at the annual Damba festival in which she rode on a horse, cheers from the crowd. It was overwhelming because the crowd was so big, said Kendall Jones, Johnson's best friend, who was by her side at the event. It was my first time ever experiencing having people chase your car down as you're driving away. The role of friendship queen comes with an elevated status and practical responsibilities to the community. Johnson works together with elders of the Dagbon Kingdom, which dates back to the 14th century and comprises around 5 million people, to run positive initiatives in Tamale, where she now lives. So far, together with her charitable foundation, Kith and Kin, she has worked to provide clean water, sanitary products, and shoes to the community, and is working on a scheme to support orphans locally. Excuse me, I keep losing my voice. Locally, she is revered. You are put on a pedestal, she said. There are all the formalities, the bowing, her royal majesty, making sure that you're taken care of, and it's a difficult adjustment for someone unfamiliar with celebrity. But to Johnson, the role comes naturally. She represents peace, unity, hope, and the connection of our past to the future, said the Dakpima, who was instantly impressed by Johnson upon her first visit to the palace. She is very popular with the Dagbon and highly respected. The people admire her. Kennedy Johnson is not the first Zosamili Na to be enshrined by Dakpima. Dr. Susan Herlin, an academic from Kentucky, had her title conferred in 1995 and died in 2014. 7 years later, Johnson became the next person to receive the title from the Dakpima Palace. We feel she was the right choice based on her qualities and her connection to both the Dagbon Kingdom and the diaspora, said the Dakpima. By having a queen who embodies both our rich cultural heritage and strong ties to the world, we open the door to cultural exchange, investment, and global awareness. That Ghana sounds like a civilized country, doesn't it? November 2024, Johnson was granted a full Ghanaian citizenship. In the same month, she was also included in the most influential people in the African descent class of 2024 top 100 futurists and innovators. It just unfolded as something beyond my dreams, she said. Johnson is especially popular with the young people of Tamale who call her the Swagger Queen. The Swagger Queen. Wow. I don't know. That's kind of that'd be a cool name in the United States. Due to her striking fashion sense that makes full use of colorful Ghanaian fabrics. But no one admires her more than her own daughter, now 28. It's the story of a person with everything against them being blessed with everything from the universe. Dikaya said, "You can say you've seen everything, and you've seen your mom grow up with a lack of family and then grow up and gain millions of people as your family. As daughter of the Zasamili Na
Wednesday, not
Dikaya,
crying Wednesday. What the hell?"
as a daughter of Zasamili Na, Dikaya is now considered a princess. I remember growing up and thinking, maybe one day I'll play a Disney princess, recalled Dikaya. Now known by her rapper name, Stunna Dior. It's a hard thing to conceptualize. Why does she need a rapper name, man? She got a cool name. And what would the teenage Kennedy Johnson in Detroit think of current queen in Tamale? I think she would feel inspired, Johnson said. If the young version met the current me, she would know how to keep going and keep pushing. There's your feel-good story on a Weird Wednesday.
Wow, amazing.
Wrapping it up there.
That's definitely
Sorry
something
for taking so long.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's definitely something I'm kind of jealous of, right? And I think a lot of Americans, even white Americans, can share this kind of concept of kind of going back to where you came from and discovering, hey, there's people here that like me, you know? Of course, there are a lot of white Americans who end up going to Europe somewhere and saying, I'm Italian too. And it's like, you're not Italian, dude. You don't even speak Italian. At least try to learn the language before you start claiming your ancestry. I mean, it's much easier for people in the UK, right? Where English is the language. So, think I'm Scottish, you know, in Scotland. I just know yeah.
Right. I know as a white American, as African blood, I really want to know how my African blood got here. I'd like to know that journey that at least one person took, right?
Well, to be fair,
I don't know.
There
right?
was you know this or you shared this with me, but Stewart is a very common ex-slave last name because there was a they were known for freeing their slaves was kind of
in
went
Maryland.
north and freed. You can be called Stewart now, so that's why a lot of Black Americans called something Stewart.
Right, that's not where my Stewart name came from, but
maybe you have
I don't know my original.
Great grandmother.
I know I do. I'm serious. I got a picture of James Banks. He was where all my African blood comes from. James Banks, but he didn't come from Africa. He was born, probably his great grandfather, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But no, that's on my mom's side of the family anyway, so it's not a Stewart thing. But like you're right, the Stewart name was taken by Harriet Tubman's brothers. All took the names. 3 of her brothers anyway took the name Stewart when they were free. So anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about my mom's side of the family, which is Native American, right? But the whole, when I was looking up the ancestry and tracing the lines, right, a lot of it was Spanish, as in like, wow, that woman.
Oh yeah,
because I followed only the female line because female lines are way more reliable when you're doing ancestry because usually you don't, you know, who had this baby? Who knows? It was her. She gave birth to it. We were all there. So, usually they're more reliable. And every single woman in my mom's side of the family was married to a Spaniard. Every single one. Okay. Until the 1300s, I think, is how old the records I could find. So.
Well, the lesson on this story, I think, is not to constantly look inward. right?
Yeah.
There's a whole. She went and explored the world and found
Exactly.
out that I'm
I
not
agree.
the only person that's miserable in this whole world. I'm miserable, but there's lots of miserable people, and actually, I got it pretty good compared to them. So anyway, back to you again.
All right, let's go on to our next wacky and weird story, which is about how, you know, that Arctic thing that's slowly melting? Well, unfortunately, it's now helping itself melt. This is by Barbara Morin on NPR. The Arctic tundra is warming up, and that's causing long frozen ground to melt, as well as increase in wildfires. The region is now emitting more carbon that it stores, which will worsen climate change impacts, explained NOAA Administrator Rick Spinyard in a statement. Arctic tundra, which has stored carbon for thousands of years, has now become a source of planet-warming pollution. As wildfires increase and hotter temperatures melt long frozen ground, the region is releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. That's right, ice stores a lot of gas. You know, the reason a lot of it is air. So finding was reported in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrative Annual Arctic Report Card. Though you just hate when you get your report card and it's all F's, because that's what it sounds like here for the Earth. There's got all F's. The new research led by scientists from Woodwell Climate Research Center in Falmouth, Massachusetts, signals a dramatic shift in this Arctic's ecosystem, which could have widespread implications for the global climate. The tundra, which is experiencing warming and increased wildfires, now emitting more carbon than it stores, which will worsen climate change impacts, NOAA Administrator Rick Spinyard said in a press release. This is yet one more sign, predicted by scientists, of the consequences of inadequately reducing fossil fuel production. Finding doesn't surprise Roisin Comain, a climate scientist at Columbia University, was not involved in the research. She said polar scientists knew this could happen, but she said it's concerning to see the shift take place. Yeah, I mean, you always want to predict stuff just in case, but you don't want it to come true. I mean, this means that CO2 will keep going, Comain said. We won't be able to do much about it. Arctic is warming faster than the global average for the 11th year in a row, according to the report card. The warming directly influences global sea level rise, weather patterns, wildlife migrations, and other wacky human-caused climate change effects, all driven primarily by burning fossil fuels. This year's report comes as Donald Trump prepares to take office in January. Convicted felon Trump has said he wants to increase oil exploration and drilling in the Arctic. Well, there's plenty of carbon there supposedly, so go for it, I guess. Might as well just keep going. Curtailing government action on climate change. Sue Natali, a scientist at the Woodwell Climate Research Center and contributor to the Arctic Report Card, declined to comment on the incoming administration. But she said this year's report demonstrates the importance of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and continuing climate change research. This is not an issue of what party you support, said Natali. This is something that impacts everyone. So here are some key takeaways from this year's Arctic Report Card. Permafrost is full of carbon. I mean, most of it is just Earth that has been frozen. So it's not ice, it's just Earth. And a lot of Earth contains a lot of minerals like carbon. Well, carbon isn't a mineral, it's a state of matter, I guess, that has been locked away by plants over millennia. Well, last year's permafrost temperatures were the second warmest on record, hastening the melting of the frozen soil. Once the ground thaws, microbes in the soil become active because they can't die, they just get frozen and consume the newly available carbon, releasing it into the atmosphere as methane and carbon dioxide. And as we learned, I think 2 weeks ago, methane doesn't stay in the atmosphere for very long, but it's like a burst of carbon, global heat. So it just slightly increases the temperature, similar to how you put your pan under the fire for a few seconds and it gets warm way longer than if you just kept it away from the fire to begin with. Will Moon, lead editor of the Arctic Report Card and scientist at the National Snow and Data Ice Center, likened permafrost to chicken in a freezer. As long as it stays frozen, microbes stay away. Once you have the chicken out of your freezer, it's thawing and all those microbes are getting to work. breaking down the chicken, making it rot, she said. The permafrost is really going to do the same thing. Rotting earth. I love that flavor.
What came first, the chicken or the microbes? That's my question.
The microbes. All life came from microbes.
Oh, okay.
Brendan Rogers,
There you go. There's your answer.
Brendan Rogers, a scientist at the Woodville Climate Research Center, who contributed to the report card, said emissions from the region are likely to continue as the climate warms. This concern is with the intensifying wildfires. With warming temperatures, they will see more emissions in the future, he said. Wildfires in North American permafrost regions have increased. Isn't that kind of funny? Or it's wacky. It's wacky that a place that is usually permafrost, so cold enough that the ground freezes, is getting wildfires. Anyone else think that's weird? In 2003, emissions from the polar wildfires, what a contradiction, have averaged 207 million tons of carbon per year. That's more than the annual carbon dioxide emissions in some industrial countries like Argentina and Austria. Wildfire smoke adds pulses of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere while speeding permafrost melt. Yeah, I think if the permafrost is on fire, it's gonna melt. Of course, if anybody, for example, in the Netherlands, you have this stuff called turf, which is basically this. It's frozen ground with very high, dense amount of carbon. They used to burn it in the ancient times, not really the ancient times, but long ago, as fuel because it had so much carbon in it. And that's kind of what's happening. You have a bunch of very dense, almost coal.
It's pre-coal.
Yeah, almost coal-like Earth. It's not coal, but it's very coal-like Earth, right? It's still dirt, but it has enough carbon saturation that it's basically coal. And it's just catching on fire and
dead
burning
plant matter in there where it'll burn.
Yeah. An estimated 1.5 trillion tons of carbon remains stored in permafrost, more carbon than all the trees in the world's forest, according to Natalie.
It'll burn slow, too.
So melting permafrost could become... Maybe we should just start harvesting it and just, burn the earth down. Potentially a massive source of greenhouse gas emissions that will contribute to climate change. But there's still time to slow the thaw, Rogers has said.
We're going fast enough.
With lower levels of climate change, you get lower levels of emission from permafrost, he said. That should motivate us all to work towards more aggressive in emission reduction. You would think any human on the planet would say, wait, the polar caps are on fire, and would think, that's a bad thing. I don't think that's supposed to happen. Don't think the cold place is supposed to be on fire. The Greenland ice sheet lost 22 to 77 billion tons of ice last year. That's the lowest level ice loss since 2013, thanks to an above-average snowfall. The downside, it's still enough ice water to raise global sea levels by 0.15 millimeters, according to Moon. While this may not sound like much, Moon pointed out that the sea level rise is contributing to coastal erosion, flooded roads, disruption of sewer systems, and contamination of drinking water. And guess what? Humans can't live without drinking water. Greenland ice sheet is massive, nearly 2 miles thick. That is very thick. And as it slowly melts, it's the second largest contributor to global sea level rise. The largest contributor is water expanding as it warms. Just any glacier out there expanding. Greenland's relentless contribution to water will be pretty devastating for global sea levels. Ice populations remain healthy despite warming water and declining sea ice. Seals seem to be adapting to the changing climate by eating more warm water fish. But we don't know how well they can continue to adapt to warming conditions. Yeah, the thing about seals is they have this thing called a lot of body fat. So they're not going to need it. They're just going to overheat. They're going to overheat.
Oh, they'll probably just go extinct.
Yeah.
They'll go extinct to be replaced by some other form of seal. That's just evolution, man.
But I don't think they're going to evolve that quickly.
But,
I think they're just going to die instead. Not all Arctic animals are faring well.
All you humans that think we're here for good, we're not.
Yeah, we're not. Inland caribou populations have declined by 65% over recent decades, according to report cards. One main reason is that they're often eating less. Arctic winters are getting wetter, and freezing rain can create icy crust on the snow. It's often not worth the energy for caribou to break through the ice for a nibble of lichen found underneath. Hotter summers have also led to more mosquitoes. Bugs can become so annoying that caribou focus on avoiding them, fleeing to icy, windy areas, for instance, at the expense of eating. You know what? Relatable. Imagine getting swarmed by mosquitoes. You know, it's like, I'm gonna go run into a glacier real quick. They can't follow me there. Sadly, very relatable. Nobody likes mosquitoes, but we do need them to quail populations. I think they actually kill a lot of deer every year. And if you didn't, the deer would just eat the forest dry. There you go. There's your wacky story on polar ice caps catching on fire. On to your next story.
We're just one big ball of life here on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, intriguing science story. And interesting thing about every scientist who's ever lived, they all died, just like all of us will. So we're not here for good. Treat the place like we own it. You know? Anyway. In other news, we're going to talk about a Long Island man who's gives a crap. This is kind of shit I would do if I had a skateboard and had the skill. Well, I guess you don't really need a lot of skill to just sit on a skateboard and let it go downhill, but I think I would probably take a bike myself. A Long Island man skateboards 3,162 miles from coast to coast. This is from UPI.com. Ben Hooper. Yeah, bicycling would be my thing. I'd get there faster, and I think I would have fewer blisters. I'm not sure. Anyway, Chad Caruso skateboarded 3,162 miles across the United States in 57 days, 6 hours, and 56 minutes. That's right. It is a Guinness World Record. Chad Caruso, outfitted with only his board, a small backpack, and a single set of clothes, started his skateboarding trip in Venice, California. He went west to east and completed his journey to the coast of Atlantic Ocean in Virginia Beach. He took the southern route, he did. He went south. He must have thought he was going to get there late in the year and he didn't want to be cold. Although Virginia Beach is cold this time of the year. That feat earned him the Guinness World Record for the fastest crossing of America on a skateboard by a male, the male division. As I skated up to the finish line in Virginia Beach with hundreds of people cheering me on, police escorts, and local skaters pushing alongside me, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with emotion, Caruso told Guinness World Records. Oh, let me just bump my table and move everything. Camera's now askew again. Because you can't breathe, the camera moves. I keep thinking back to the teenage version of myself who dropped out of school to pursue skating and fought through all the voices telling him to quit over the years. Caruso, who has been skating for 25 years, aimed to raise awareness of addiction and mental health problems. He says skateboarding helped him get sober 9 years ago, and he hopes his story will inspire others to do the same. Caruso celebrated his arrival at the finish line by throwing his board into the ocean. Virginia Beach Mayor Robert M. Dyer then gave a speech declaring May 19th to be Chad Caruso Day. Good for him. If you have a vision, believe in bringing it to life, and don't let the thoughts or opinions of others waver your resolve. So, there's your good news on Weird Wednesday. This could be Good News Wednesday too, right? There's no way the Wonderful Wednesday or something like that. Other news, we're going to update the guy we reported on, I think it was last week or the week before, on Weird Wednesday. The Wisconsin Kayaker. This is from AP News. The Wisconsin Kayaker who faked his death and fled to Eastern Europe is in custody, online records show. So yeah. Ryan Borgwart, 45, whose name sounds like something out of a Harry Potter novel. Maybe he was running away from old Voldemort, right? Who was booked into the Green Lake County Jail on Thursday afternoon. You had to fake your death, right? If you're trying to get away from Voldemort, right? Don't you? I don't know. I'm not an expert on wizardry. Anyway, back to the story. He was booked in Green Lake County Jail on Tuesday afternoon, according to the Victim Information and Notification Everyday System, a service that provides information to crime victims such as persons' jail custody status. No charges were listed. The Green Lake County Sheriff's Office said Tuesday in a social media post that a news conference would be held Wednesday morning to update the Borgwart case. So what is it, about 8 o'clock? Starting 7 o'clock in Wisconsin right now. So they're probably going to be updating us in about 2 hours, I imagine. A person answering the phone at the sheriff's office Tuesday night declined to confirm whether Borgwart was in custody. County jail officials didn't immediately return a phone message Tuesday night. It's like, we'll let you go if you give us $50,000 to cover all the divers we had to pay. How's that sound? Last month, Sheriff Mark Podol said Borgwart began communicating with the authorities on November 11th after disappearing for 3 months, but that he hadn't committed to returning to Wisconsin. Podol said police were pulling at his heartstrings to come home. He suggested Borgwart could be charged with obstructing the investigation into his disappearance. Borgwart told authorities last month that he faked his death because of personal matters, the sheriff said. He told them that in mid-August he traveled about 50 miles or 80 kilometers from his home in Watertown to Green Lake, where he overturned his kayak, dumped his phone, and then paddled an inflatable boat to shore. He said he picked that lake because it's the deepest in Wisconsin. Yes, they'll never find his body, so they'll say, yeah, insurance company, here's your money. But after leaving the lake, he rode an electric bike about 70 miles. It's not a short ride, 70 miles. It's about 8 hours, right? Through the night to Madison, the sheriff said. From there, he said he took a bus to Detroit, then boarded the bus to Canada and got on a plane. Very elaborate. The sheriff said at the time that investigators were working to verify Borgwart's description of what happened. The sheriff's office said the search for Borgwart's body, which lasted more than a month, cost at least $35,000. The sheriff said that Borgwart told authorities that he didn't expect the search to last more than 2 weeks. Well, it's a good thing he wasn't making plans. Apparently people cared a little bit too much about this guy. They kept looking and looking and looking and spent a lot of money. So there's your story. There'll probably be an update later today. They'll probably set bail and said, hey, we got to charge you with something. Right? Taxpayers are pissed. Lots of people are pissed.
Yeah, well,
right?
a lot of money was fucking wasted on you, and you should be dead. So.
Yeah. Well, let's not go overboard. I mean, he does have, people that care about him, even though he's out of his fucking mind. Back to you. Oh, by the way, I did send you a video.
Okay.
So I hope you got it. All right.
Let me check.
That's my story.
My
Bye-bye.
messages. Yep, I got it. Okay. For the next story, let's talk about my culture segment here, which is a little shorter than my previous 2 stories. And it's all about the most Googled topics for this year, which some of them hopefully are wacky and weird. And if they're not, well, at least we found out something interesting about the people in the UK and the US. I don't have the list for the Netherlands because, I don't know. I couldn't find one. But I'm sure they also Googled some crazy stuff. Google has revealed the most searched topics in 2024, providing a snapshot of what captivated, intrigued, and worried searchers online. This is on Euronews Culture by David Moraquand, of course, my favorite author on this website. So here's what people were Googling this year. The data published by Google, as customary every December, reveals the search trends of the year. In the UK, the Euros, Liam Payne, of course, the US elections, and teenage darts champion Luke Littler ranked high on the most search, as well as how to get the Oasis tickets. How to get Oasis tickets. Well, use Ticketmaster, because as we know, they have a monopoly on tickets. On the news front, top searchers of the world were the final Euro 2024 in Germany, as well as the tragic death of Liam Payne and British teenager Jay Slater, who went missing on the Spanish island of Tenerife. The absence of Kate Middleton, oh right, from the royal duties. I totally forgot that was a thing this year, where people are like, Kate Middleton's actually dead. She's died, and they're pretending she's not dead. As the Princess of Wales sparked online controversy and plenty of conspiracy theories, making her the most searched for person of the year, followed by, of course, Trump and darts champion Luke Littler, Keir Starmer, which is the current Prime Minister of the UK, and Algerian boxer Iman Khalif, which was a stupid drama that meant nothing and had nothing to do with anything to do with trans people, whose victory over Italy's Angela Carini during the 2024 Olympic Games brought out the worst in people on social media. When it comes to film, it was Tim Burton's Beetlejuice that people searched the most this year. Other notable cinematic searches this year include It Ends With Us, Inside Out 2, Dune Part 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine. Emmy Award-winning series Baby Reindeer led searches on World of Television, while the headlining grabbing Oasis reunion dominated the music searches. The band were followed by Sabrina Carpenter, One Direction, Dave Grohl, and Ray. Ah yes, don't forget about Dave Grohl's drama, where he got I think a 20-year-old pregnant, and everyone was like, really, dude?
Who cares?
Well, on the sports
Oh
front,
my God,
I'm
a
just
rock
saying
star
it was
having
drama.
sex. Make it stop. Anyway.
Yeah. On the sports front, athletes Luke Littler, Lamine Yamal, and Simone Biles were the most searched names. Of course, Simone Biles being the legendary gymnast. Elsewhere, the race for the White House dominated searches, even in the UK, which was when is followed by the budget and the Euros final. While UK Googlers asked the question, how to vote in the UK? Hey, no shame in learning how to vote. I'm not going to shame anybody. Because I think it's good that people are looking it up so they know how to do it, so they actually do it. This was closely followed by...
definitely, because they make it hard.
Yeah. How to get the Oasis tickets and how to watch Fury versus Usyk. Across the pond, the U.S. presidential election, of course, unsurprisingly dominated the charts, but the most searched term closely followed for searches for Donald Trump. Like, is Donald Trump an idiot? And no, not just kidding, that's not what it was. It was probably stuff like, does Donald Trump support this? Whose re-election has been the subject of intense buzz and debate. Not all doom and gloom though, as the New York Times word game connections was also one of the most searched terms on Google this year. The most searched people in the US were mostly presidential nominees and their running mates. Trump claimed the top spot, followed by Kamala Harris, J.D. Vance, and Biden. The Princess of Wales was close though, and was one of the most Googled people this year. Yeah, because everyone thought she was dead, and nothing's more intriguing than a secret death that they're hiding from the public. The most searched performers, including
one's
Cat
less
Williams
interesting
and
than
his
the royal
controversial
family.
appearance on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast, Jacob Elordi from Priscilla and Saltburn, Glenn Powell from Twisters, and Jeremy Allen White, The Bear. Meanwhile, the most searched musician of 2024 was Usher, whose Super Bowl halftime performance and Vegas residency catapulted the R&B icon back into the limelight. Sean Diddy Combs, of course, dominated the searches due to his music industry shaking allegations of sexual misconduct. Kendrick Lamar and Drake also
I thought
ranked
Shitty
on the
Combs
list for
would
their
have been, I'm sure.
ongoing rap beef making waves. Sorry?
I would have for sure thought it was Shitty Combs would be
Yeah.
the biggest search. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I guess Usher, I mean, that's a good thing, Usher, which is a more positive news story, right? He comes back, his comeback, I think that's way more positive, so I'm happy about that. Finally, US Googlers were very curious about the burnt toast theory, which went viral in 2024. The metaphorical concept suggests that small and seemingly negative effects can lead to positive outcomes. A whimsical butterfly effect, if you will. I haven't heard this. How did we not cover this at all this year? The burnt toast theory. The burnt toast theory is a mindset and parable that suggests that minor, time-consuming inconveniences such as burning and remaking toast before traveling to work could avoid greater harm or lead to other positive outcomes. Oh, so it's the idea like if you get all your bad stuff out of the way, the rest of the day will be good, I think is what they're saying.
Right. Don't spread that bad karma.
Yeah, just even though that's not how karma works, karma is not like a trade.
Oh yeah, that's all. Well, bad karma works that way. If you have a shitty day, you cause somebody else to have a shitty day by yelling at them or cussing at them, and then they go.
Yeah, you
it's just
spread the bad karma for sure.
multiplier
Yeah.
effect. Right, exactly. That's an actual.
But I think the
I
idea more
guarantee it's
here is like,
scientifically proven
let me
somewhere.
do something to ruin
that-
my day at the beginning of the day, so that the rest of the day, honestly, I think it's a mental thing, right? The rest of the day will seem way more positive in
I have no
comparison.
scientific proof
Yeah.
that good karma transfers, but I definitely know bad karma does. Anyway.
Other top searches reflected the generational struggle to keep up, including defining the demure trend and decoding Gen Alpha slang terms, with a standout question in the US being, why do kids say Sigma? Well, you can blame, what do you call those? Hustlers and con men who try to teach men how to be real men by, I saw this funny meme, and it was something along the lines of, everyone's so obsessed with the gender binary and, putting people and saying that, like non-binary people don't exist, when they're saying, when men are putting themselves in lists, right? You're a Sigma, you're an Alpha, you're a Beta. Like, why are you guys so obsessed with labels?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a binary world, but there's different classifications of men. You can't have it both ways,
exactly.
assholes.
It's so weird. In case you're wondering, Sigma is a term for the hierarchy for males, apparently humbler than Alpha, and referring to someone who is successful and good-looking. think, oh shit, who's the Sigma male guy? It's that guy from that murder movie. I can't remember the name of it now.
I don't know. The murder movie.
Yeah,
Jimmy
there's a movie
Stewart,
about a guy. It's the guy who played Batman.
We're-
The actor who played Batman.
Adam West.
No. Sorry,
Oh,
in the
not
Dark
that
Knight
Batman.
trilogy.
Michael
British guy.
Keaton, George Clooney.
British
A
one.
lot of people played Batman. I think I played Batman by this time.
I'll just look up Sigma because
like
it'll be
40
as soon as I Google it, it'll show me the picture of the guy.
Ben
I'm
Affleck played
what
Batman.
movie he was in? Sigma.
Didn't
I
Val
guess I have to
Kilmer
search
play
Sigma
Batman
male.
one
So if I just
time?
search Sigma, it just tells me the definition of Sigma, which I
Val-
already know.
Val Kilmer.
On the internet. Who's this guy? Who is this guy? I can't remember
I don't know,
anything.
man.
I'm so my memory is so bad.
I don't even know what that question was anymore. Yeah, I was just listing Batmans.
Yeah, Christian Bale was in a movie where he murdered
Christian
people.
Bale, there you go. That's his name. That's another Batman.
But I can't remember what the movie he was in and what the name of it is.
Oh, American Psycho?
Yes, American Psycho. That is the premier Sigma male. For anybody who doesn't know what Sigma male is, if you've ever seen American Psycho, that guy is what a Sigma male is, according to the people who have a lot of free time on their hands.
People who make shit up. That's who he is, according to the people who make shit up. Okay.
So if you want to have a good rest of your 2024, make sure to keep it Sigma and demure, because that's the new trend, at least in the US and UK.
Okay.
I am curious if there's any most Googled in the Netherlands, just for I can spell. Nederland.
Boy.
There's going to be a bunch of
Anyway,
words that only I know, and some words I don't know. They only give me 2023, dude. I don't care about 2023. Joost Klein. Yeah, that makes sense. Joost Klein, which was the person who tried to went into the semifinals in the shit, I forget. Not my memory. My word recall is so bad.
I don't know.
You know, the Euro competition where people sing.
Eurovision?
Eurovision.
The Olympics.
Joost Klein was the most
he's been in a
searched
bread box.
person. Because, and Ali B, of course, very famous Dutch rapper. I don't know the rest of these people at all. So that's the most searched person in the Netherlands. The most searched international: Donald Trump, Kate Middleton, Kamala, P. Diddy, and Amon Khalif. That was just popular everywhere.
Right.
I don't know who EK is.
Hmm.
EK is... I don't know what EK... Well, that was the most searched searching thing. EK and Joost Klein. Olympic Games, Liam Payne, Timu for some reason. TV, Fool Me Once, Over Mine Like, Baby Reindeer, Saltburn, and Doom.
The breakdancer.
Yeah, it's very similar. There's obviously some Dutch things in there for Shannon Doherty. She died, didn't she?
Shannon Doherty. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, she was searched a lot in the Netherlands. In Groningen, specifically. That's weird. Okay, but there you go. That is your little short Dutch list, I guess. And that's your Googled terms of the year. Wacky and weird things like Sigma males and being demure. And on to this day in history.
Okay, this day in history is kind of long for some dang reason. Jeez.
A lot of things happening.
Well, we'll try to get through it quickly, though.
Yeah.
All right, back in 1845.
Not too quickly, to download this video.
The Sonderbund, the Sonderbund was formed by the 7 Roman Catholic conservative Swiss cantons: Luzerne, Uri, Schilz, Unterwalden, Zug, Freiburg, and Violus, to oppose the anti-Catholic measures by Protestant liberal cantons. That was hard to read. Anyway, this was a Catholic thing from 1845. 1911, the Egyptian novelist, writer, and screenplay writer, Okay. Naguib Mahfouz was born in Cairo. He was the first Arabic writer to be awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. Let's get some names I can read. Adolf Hitler. In 1941, I can read his name. 1941, Adolf Hitler declared that Germany was at war with the United States following the Japanese attacks on the U.S., British, and Dutch positions in the Pacific and East Asia. We forget that. December 7th was this Pearl Harbor bombing, and that was on Saturday, so we didn't cover it on our day in history.
Yeah.
But this was 4 days after Pearl Harbor, 4 days after. 1946, UNICEF, the United Nations program devoted to improving health, nutrition, education, and general welfare of children, was established. So happy birthday to UNICEF. 1967, the acclaimed American film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? A lesson in racial tolerance and etiquette premiered in New York City. It starred Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, and Sidney Poitier. Spencer Tracy, one of his last movies. 1972, Apollo 17 astronauts Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt became the last humans to walk on the moon. So it's been 52 years since we left the moon. 52 years today. And of course, all the idiots out there that don't think we... you are an idiot if you think we faked the moon landing. You're lazy and you're stupid if you think we faked the moon landing. You're intellectually lazy. How come there's no stars in the sky? Oh yeah, like NASA was going to fake the moon landing. Wouldn't they fake the stars too? Morons. Anyway, you can't see stars. You need a long exposure camera to see stars. You can't just film them from the moon. Anyway, especially with the technology we had in 1969 through 72. We only went to the moon for 3 years. Think about that. And we haven't been back for 52. There's no real reason to go there, but 1978, nearly $6 million in cash and jewels were stolen from the air cargo building at the German airliner Lufthansa at the John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City. At the time, the Lufthansa heist, as it became known, was the largest ever cash theft in the history of the United States. And of course, immortalized in what movie? Goodfellas. All right. The Robert De Niro character in Goodfellas is the guy that masterminded the Lufthansa heist, and that's what basically brought down the organization because people started spending that money instead of holding on to it. And when people started spending that money, they started getting lots of clues to who was in on the conspiracy. 1981, Muhammad Ali lost his last professional bout, losing to Trevor Berbick in a decision. Muhammad Ali was washed up by then, just doing it for fun. I don't know what he was doing it for, to prove something. But either way, he shouldn't have been fighting anymore. He lost to a guy who went in the ring with Mike Tyson and basically fell over from the wind. Not a good boxer, Trevor Berbick. Not one of your all-time greats. In other words, Muhammad Ali was 10 years past his prime, probably. Maybe 5. Maybe 15. I don't know. Hard to tell with a boxer, right? One hit and your brains are scrambled, and he took a lot of abuse. 1994, Russian troops invaded Chechnya in the effort to suppress a rebel Chechnyan government led by the Zakhar Dyadev. That was in 1994. 1998, the Judiciary Committee of the House of Representatives voted to impeach Bill Clinton for basically nothing. And 2012, the Indian artist Ravi Shankar, who was influential in stimulating Western appreciation of Indian music, died at the age of 92. Ravi Shankar. Nora Jones's father, Ravi Shankar. If you like Nora Jones, a sweet jazz voice, well, there you go. That's her papa. Although he had nothing to do with raising her. Our featured event in 1936, Edward VIII, who was a Nazi, failing to win acceptance for his desire to marry American divorcee Wallace Walford Simpson, became the only British sovereign to voluntarily resign the crown. His abdication formally approved this day in 1936. Of course, again, I think he was way too close to Hitler, and that's why he had to go. I don't think it had anything to do with his marriage. That was a convenient excuse, but I think it's because he's way too close to Hitler. And of course, the Windsor family, until World War II, or World War I, between the wars, they used to be known as the Hanover. The House of Hanover. That sounded too German, so they changed it to Windsor. Oh yeah, we're not Hanover yet. We're Windsor yet.
But
yeah,
they were still working with the
faking it.
Nazis before they were evil.
Well, at least
yeah.
Edward was. He actually went to Germany.
Yeah.
Like, he lived there and shit. Anyway, 1922 is the birthday of Dilip Kumar, Indian actor. It's a big Indian day. Our feature biography is Alexander Solzhenitsyn, a Russian author and expatriate. Actually, he went back to Russia before he died. December 11th, 1918 was his birthday in Kislovodsk, Russia. He was a Nobel Prize winner, a Nobel laureate for literature. I know that. August 3rd, 2008, he died at the age of 89 in his homeland of Russia. So he was able to go back after the Soviet Union collapsed. He was a dissident. He was put in jail in the Soviet Union. 1931, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, if you don't know who that is, they know him out here in Oregon. He was one of these cult leaders who took over a town out here in the desert. And they went a little nuts. Anyway, they were quite a rich, I want to call it a cult. But yeah, Bhagwan Rajneesh, born this day, 1931. He didn't even live that long. I think he died in like his early 60s. So like you think like, oh, when you're your spiritual leader, you have it locked on. But nah, he just died kind of young. 1935, Pranab Mukherjee, president of India, was born. 1943, the former president, John Kerry, United States Senator and Secretary of State and presidential candidate nominee, was born in 1943. So happy 81st birthday to John Kerry. And another Indian chess player, Viswanathan Anand, born in this day in 1969. There's your birthdays. And our National Stretching Day. So get out there and stretch. Definitely should stretch, especially before you do any physical activity. It's National App Day. Everybody's got apps on their phone, or your phone won't work. So, I don't know, clean up the ones you don't use and make your phone run better. About the only advice I can say. And it's National Noodle Ring Day. So, the little O's that, your pasta forms. Your pasta comes in the shape of an O. It's your day to eat that. So, those are your days. Those are your birthdays. That's all your crap happening today on Weird Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, and before noodle rings. Noodle rings.
All right, it's also UN's International Recognizing Day of Mountains. That's right, even mountains get some support today. Over the centuries, mountain communities have developed solutions to adapt to their harsh environments, deal with climate change, and reduce poverty, and protect and restore biodiversity. So let's give support to all those people who are living in mountain communities for their hardy nature. They really are. They learn to adapt and build resilience and reduce their vulnerability. So mountains are natural jewels we should treasure. They're home to 15% of the world's population and host about half the world's biodiversity hotspots. They provide fresh water for everyday life to half of humanity, helping sustain agriculture and supply clean energy and medicines. I love a good mountain. Nice track up a mountain's always, and the view you can see. So make sure you don't. I don't know what we can stop to keep the mountains going. I guess stopping erosion and pollution.
Yeah, the mountains will be here long after we're gone. The mountains will be there.
Don't leave trash in the creeks so that the water can actually get down from the mountain. And this has been Allison from the Netherlands, Raj from the West Coast of the United States, and this has been Wacky and Weird Wednesday. We will see you tomorrow for Thursday's 13, where we're going to make a list of 13 things and cover general news that's been going on. I definitely have some things I want to talk about that weren't wacky, but I will talk about them tomorrow. And hopefully there's more updates on the Hague explosion, for example. I'm definitely keeping that on my eyes to see if there's any updates for that. So I hope you guys have a good Wednesday. It is halfway through the week. We're almost there. And we're almost on the 12th day, the first 12th day of Christmas or whatever, tomorrow. Right, that's when you start counting down your Lords of Leaping, your Maids of Milking, and all that stuff.
and a pear tree.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see you there. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And here is the mic drop moment.
Houston, before we
The last astronauts to ever be on the moon.
probably one of the most significant things we
Got to listen to what he has to say.
Apollo is that it has opened for us being the world, a challenge of the future. The door is now cracked, but the promise of that future lies in the young people, not just in America, but the young people all over the world, learning to live and learning to work together. In order to remind all the peoples of the world, in so many countries throughout the world, that this is what we all are striving for in the future.
There she
Challenge
goes.
of today has forged man's destiny of tomorrow. And as we leave the moon in Taurus Littrow, we leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and hope for all mankind. Godspeed to crew of Apollo 17.
Goodbye, Apollo.
All right.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.